More on the death of Ray Phiri coming up, but first, the Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane is fighting President Zuma's court bid to block an urgent judicial inquiry into state capture. The President is battling for control of the inquiry and wants to decide which judge should lead it. Mkhwebane says Zuma's legal effort has little prospect of success. She's now backing advocate Thuli Madonsela's argument that Zuma cannot determine how the inquiry should operate as he's too deeply implicated in alleged state capture. Well, it's a complex story. Let's try and simplify it for you as a specialist reporter Karen Morn joins us, who's been working the story for us today. And is this now an about turn as far as the new public protector is concerned?
Well, she was quite hesitant. I mean, initially she abided by the, when President Zuma was seeking to block the release of the report, she said she would abide by the court's ruling. She then took quite a great deal of time to indicate that she was indeed going to oppose the President's bid to review the state capture report. This is somehow a little different kettle of fish, because what's happened is the DA has brought an application to say the President must be compelled to act on the remedial action contained in that report, and that him attempting to appeal it or challenge it can't be a basis to stop its remedial action from being put into place, given that the Gupta leak emails, the state capture allegations are paralyzing the state, etc., etc. She's essentially supporting that argument, and it's fascinating because last month I interviewed Thuli Madonsela on this issue, and she said if the President's basis for the review, as he has stated, is this concern that he has that she overstepped the mark and said that Chief Justice Mogoeng must be the one to control this whole process, the terms of reference, etc., etc. If he has a genuine concern about this academic issues of his powers, he can bring a parallel court process and finalize that in the interim. But it should not block a state of capture inquiry, because this is at the heart of what is destroying our nation at this time, this uncertainty. There's a leadership deficit. We all don't know what to think. Allegations at state capture, in SOEs, questions over people's positions, etc., etc. And essentially what has happened, Jeremy, is Busisiwe Mkhwebane is backing that stance. She says it's just too urgent. We can't allow this review process to delay that inquiry, and it must go ahead.
Is it based on legal principles, or has she found some courage here?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, I think there's a solid legal argument to be made here, because essentially the President is not disputing that an inquiry should take place. And it's interesting because the court papers themselves are littered with the President's various, comments in Parliament and other places about, we support a state capture inquiry.
Well, at every turn, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've also seen people like Malusi Gigaba and a number of other people come out and say, yes, we want this inquiry, etc., etc. What he is trying to argue about is that he wants to be able to control the judge, and he wants to, more centrally than the identity of the judge, control the terms of reference. Now, we saw what happened with the arms deal inquiry. We basically had terms of reference that framed arms deal corruption in the most absolutely blunt force trauma way possible.
So it was set up to fail.
Exactly. So it would be literally like, did person A pay a bribe directly to person B to get certain outcomes with regards to the arms deal? That is not how corruption functions. And so there was a great limitation on what that inquiry could achieve. So the terms of reference for this inquiry, what exactly that judge is asked to investigate, are going to be pivotal to determining the success of it. And given, as Advocate Mkhwebane has pointed out, the President's son is implicated in this directly through the averments of Mcebisi Jonas about this bizarre attempt to get him to take the finance minister position. Given that he has a self-proclaimed friendship with the Guptas, it is simply untenable, according to the Constitution itself, that he must then determine terms of reference for an investigation that directly at this point implicates him.
So, as a result of what the Public Protector is now saying, is this in any way going to hasten the progress or process in terms of the appointment?
Yes, it could, because what's happened now is DA's brought this application to say we want this remedial action enforced. Jacob Zuma is countering that with saying, no, I want this issue of my review to be dealt with, and then the inquiry can go ahead. And we don't know how many various appeals and whether this ends up in the Constitutional Court in 3 years' time. So there's now a court case about the urgency of the state capture inquiry.
When does that take place?
So this is happening in the next few months, weeks. It's going to be quite soon. And the fact that the public protector has turned around and taken the position that she has certainly offers support to the DA's application that indeed this inquiry must happen as soon as possible.
That's the legal side of it. Politically, could more pressure be put on Jacob Zuma to hasten the appointment of this inquiry? If you listen to Cyril Ramaphosa today speaking on state capture, coming out guns blazing.
Absolutely. The overwhelm. We haven't heard a single person in the kind of leadership structure turn around and say, you know, maybe we don't need this inquiry, etc., etc. We can. No, there isn't that rhetoric. And the president has got his own comments on record about this issue and saying, I don't have an issue with the inquiry. It will be an opportunity for us to go through the rumors and the speculation and get to the truth. You know, as Julie Madonsela has rightly pointed out, if you are the CEO of a company and someone comes to you and says, I have evidence that, you know, certain key personnel in your office have been involved in corruption or financial malfeasance, you don't need someone to come to you and say, you should investigate. You jump, you take the opportunity, and you investigate. And at this point, we haven't really got a substantive basis for the president saying, well, you know, this investigation is not one of urgency. And I think that is the point at which the courts may well say, actually, it should go ahead.
So just finally, Mkhwebane in the past, I think, has been accused by the EFF of being called the president's protector. Given the debacle over the South African Reserve Bank recommendation, this new stance that she's taking, will this rehabilitate her image in any way?
I think
her reputation.
I think that it could play a part in that, certainly. I mean, I spoke to a spokesperson yesterday who was very much upset about these constant allegations that she's a Gupta puppet, reiterated that Advocate Mkhwebane had never engaged with the Guptas, etc., etc. I think that ABSA report was a huge that she's somehow a political puppet. This current stance that she's taking may go some way in dealing with those kind of accusations.
Appreciate you popping in. Karen Morn, specialist reporter with us here on Newsday. This is our other big story. President